Thank you, everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead, click that subscribe button. It helps our channel grow. It helps our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know as we're talking college football on this channel year round. Appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button. Let's go ahead and keep our college football betting preview content for the season ahead moving forward. We've done previews on Alabama, Georgia, and Texas. Today it is the Oklahoma Sooners, a pseudo pretty much make or break year for Brent Venables. I'm not as down on him as everybody else. Let's go ahead and discuss. Now, before we do, it is worth noting we are actually recording here the day that Brent Venables speaks at SEC Media Days. So if you're watching a couple days from now, a couple weeks from now, these will be evergreen, so there's a possibility that stuff could change between now and when you listen to this. So keep that in mind. This is everything as of the morning of July 16th, 2025, before Brent Venables speaks in Atlanta. Let's talk a little bit about Oklahoma. And listen, I don't want to spend a ton of time on last year because so much has changed, but it is worth noting that it was a disappointing 6-7 season overall, a disappointing 2-6 in SEC play, a disappointing bowl result in a loss to Navy. But I will also say this. You have to win at Oklahoma. It has to get better. I think it's easy to forget it wasn't all Brent Venables' fault. It wasn't all anybody's fault, okay? First of all, I will say, if I'm going to criticize Brent Venables for one thing, and I know some Oklahoma fans will disagree, I never understood why you got rid of Dillon Gabriel. I understand that Jackson Arnold is a 5-star. I understand that you have the opportunity to start him and he's the future and blah, 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 blah. I also know Dillon Gabriel won 10 games for you in the 2023 season. Not what I would have done, but once Jackson Arnold takes over, listen, some of it was his fault. He wasn't great. Some of it was the fact he was playing behind a beat-up offensive line, not a beat-up offensive line, an entirely new offensive line. That's not Jackson Arnold's fault. That's, by the way, we'll do Auburn here in a couple days. Well, I'm a little higher on Auburn than most. And it's also worth noting that entire receiver core basically was crushed by injuries all of last year. Nick Anderson, who's now at LSU, I think is maybe the most underrated receiver in all of college football. I don't think people realize how good that guy is. Basically did not play last year. Andrell Anthony did not play. You go on and on down the list of guys on that roster that entered the season expecting to be targets for Jackson Arnold that either didn't play at all, played a game, played 2 games. There just was not a lot of talent around Jackson Arnold, and it's not all his fault that things went sideways the way that they did. But the bottom line is that however you cut it, wasn't good enough. Obviously, kind of a weird year just in general overall, where you start the season, you're solid, but something just doesn't feel right those first 3 games. You struggle with Houston, you put away Tulane late. Then Tennessee comes to town, you end up losing to them in your SEC opener, and transparently never really got better from there. Yes, you went to Auburn. Producer Matt, cover your ears. Weird game. Auburn was sort of in control. Pick 6 by Kip Lewis there, like middle of the 4th quarter. You end up winning that game, and then it was a free-for-all. You lose to Texas. I think South Carolina was probably rock bottom. Oklahoma fans, we're not going to relitigate everything, but what do you give up? 21 points in about the first 2-3 minutes of the game. Back-to-back turnovers turned into touchdowns. And from there, you kind of limp to the finish line. To your credit, you do beat Alabama. You do essentially knock Alabama out of the playoff, but you lose to LSU. You lose to Navy in the bowl game. And it set up what became just an absolutely fascinating offseason. Now, a lot of the kind of, stuff that kind of happened really happened even before that bowl game. But Seth Luttrell is let go as the offensive coordinator. You go out, you get Ben Arbuckle from Washington State. He brings John Mateer in, his quarterback from Washington State. You also, and listen, this has been talked about time and time again. We don't need to get too deep into it, but Jim Nagy obviously comes in as your GM. I think the structure there is kind of interesting where Jim Nagy doesn't really report to the football coach. He kind of reports to the administration. So I just bring it up because there's a lot of change. You had Jaden Ott in the offseason at running back. You had Isaiah Satania at wide receiver. Just a lot of change overall with this team since the last time we saw him. By the way, Brent Venables now calling plays on defense. let's get into the offense, because to me, that's where it gets interesting. Generally in these previews, we do talk a little bit about kind of what you did last year. I don't really know how relevant it is for Oklahoma. It was bad on offense. We don't need to beat around the bush. 15th in the SEC in scoring offense. Only Kentucky was worse. 16th in passing offense. And that's why you made the moves that you made to bring in Ben Arbuckle and bring his quarterback with him, John Mateer. Let's talk a little bit about that Washington State offense. I know it's different from the SEC, but it is worth noting, top 10 scoring offense in America, top 20 total offense, and really, especially the pass game was elite, led, of course, by Mateer. 3,100 yards passing, 29 touchdowns. This is the interesting part. Also rushed for 826 yards, as well as 15 touchdowns. Those combined touchdowns were the most in college football. And this is an incredible stat. Thanks you for finding this, Matt. Had at least one rushing touchdown and passing touchdown in 10 of the 12 games that he played for Washington State. And I'll say this too. I understand that it's a whole new world, that the SEC is just a totally different deal. But everybody who's around that team on a day-to-day basis talks about the confidence that he has, the way that he handles himself internally in that program. And so I think he is a player that's intriguing and exciting. I think you can argue, like, in terms of the most intriguing players in college football, John Mateer is among the most interesting. Now, in terms of what he has around him, as you saw on the screen there a minute ago, Jaden Ott, a really interesting player, came in the spring portal. Really, last year isn't really the reflection of how good he was. He suffered an ankle injury early in 2023. RIP Pac-12, led the Pac-12 in rushing. You want a fun trivia question for your next cocktail party? Who led the Pac-12 in rushing its final year? Wasn't anybody from Washington, Oregon, USC. It was Jaden Ott at Cal. He was all Pac-12 first team that year. As far as the wide receivers are concerned, you do bring back Deion Burks, 31 catches, 3 touchdowns, 245 yards. And then again, this is where the transfer portal, this is where some of the roster movement happenings make this interesting. Isaiah Satania comes in from Arkansas, 37 catches, 491 yards, 1 touchdown with the Hogs last year. And then, as you can see on the screen, Giovanni Gibson, an Arkansas Pine Bluff transfer, 70 catches, 1,215 yards. One thing, he had a little bit of a lower body injury. I did see this right before we started recording. Brent Venables saying that he is, quote, out of a walking boot. So again, important to note, we're recording the day that Brent Venables and the Oklahoma Sooners speak at SEC Media Days. You will probably have a more definitive update on Giovanni Gibson than what I just gave you, but I got to react in real time, and I know some of you will watch it later. I think what's also interesting about Oklahoma, offensive line, 3 guys back. It was not good last year, but you do have some returning experience in the toughest conference in college football. You need to get better after giving up 50 sacks a year ago. Not all on the offensive line, but yeah, you got to be better. Defensively, I'll say this, with the defense, you were pretty good. And that's my thing with Venables. I'll go off kind of on a tangent here a little bit, but Colin Cowherd, my buddy, always says this, is the way that he judges a football coach is you have to be great on your side of the football, okay? And so I'm not dismissing what happened last year, but to Venables' credit, the defense has been pretty good. Take out that first year when everything was, just completely new in that program. They were pretty good last year, and if the offense is just a little bit better, blocks a little bit better, is a little bit less injury prone, this team has a chance to be much improved. As far as defensively, I think the big thing, Brent Venables is going to be calling plays. And that, again, going off on a little side tangent, to me is kind of important, right? Like, Venables, how did you get the job? By being an elite defensive coordinator. So why are you handing off the reins to somebody else? I've never really been a fan of that. I know sometimes it works out. Look at Ohio State last year with Ryan Day, Chip Kelly calling plays. But it's like, Venables, dude, this is how you got the job. Yell, scream, go crazy on the sideline. Let Ben Arbuckle handle the offense. The defense is your baby. Take good care of it, and I think he will. Last year, 21 points per game allowed, 29th nationally, top 20 total defense. That's what I'm talking about. The defense was good. They were just on the field too much. bad field position. Like, those are things that matter when your offense can't stop turning the ball over, can't move the ball. Eventually, you're going to get worn down. The fact that this was a top 20 defense shows you that the makings are there for a much improved season. And I think what's worth noting, remember, end of the year, what happened against Alabama? 3 points allowed, under 200 yards. I don't know. I still believe in Brent Venables, and he's certainly got plenty of pieces. Yes, you lose guys like Danny Stutzman, but, R. Mason Thomas is back, 12 and a half TFLs a season ago, 9 sacks, all SEC second team. Beyond him, Dominic Williams along the defensive front, a couple other intriguing players are, really linebacker. We mentioned Kip Lewis, 65 tackles, 4 TFLs, had pick sixes. I mentioned the Auburn one early, but also had one against Bama. And then that secondary is where I think a lot of the talent really is. Eli Bowen, freshman All-American, started the final 8 games, 30 tackles, 24 solo. Robert Spears Jennings, 66 tackles, which was second on the team, 5 TFLs, 1 INT. And Peyton Bowen is back as well, 34 tackles, 1.5 TFLs. So the talent, I believe, across the board is improved. I think the coaching is going to be much better. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky when you're talking Oklahoma. You think your schedule is tough? Oklahoma, once again, has the schedule of death. Okay, let's pop it up on the screen, producer Matt here. Okay, Illinois State, I think you'll be okay. Week 2 against Michigan. Now, remember, a couple things with Michigan. Obviously, we assume Bryce Underwood will be starting for Michigan or playing significant snaps. That will be on the road, probably advantage Oklahoma. The one thing that's worth remembering, Sherrone Moore will be coaching that game. Remember this story from the offseason? Sherrone Moore is going to suffer. He's going to get a suspension as part of the Connor Stallion stuff. But Sherrone Moore and Michigan have decided that he'll coach the Oklahoma game because, quote, he played at Oklahoma and he feels like it's only the right thing to do. Yeah, that's interesting, but you get Michigan at home. Then, listen, okay, they're playing at Temple. And it was funny. So my buddy Chris Plank, he is the Oklahoma sideline reporter for football. He also is the play-by-play voice of Oklahoma softball, the greatest dynasty that we've seen maybe ever in college sports, or at least recently. But I texted Plank when I saw it. I said, Plank, what is going on? And I love Plank. And he said, well, Oklahoma has a lot of, alums in the Northeast, blah, 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 blah. And it will be kind of cool. Probably Jalen Hurts will come and do the coin toss, and it'll be all fun and games. Why are you playing Temple on the road? I don't care. There is never an excuse. I don't care if it's a 10-for-1, 10 home games, 1 road game. Why are you playing? You're in the SEC. You don't need to be playing Temple at home. From there, you have your SEC opener. You get a bye before Kent. I'm sorry, man. Like, whoever put this schedule together, let's put aside the SEC stuff. Whoever put together this schedule needs to be fired. I'm just sorry, Oklahoma fans. I don't know if it's one of you watching that did this. I don't know if it's Joe Castiglione. Maybe this is why he resigned. What is this schedule? First of all, I just don't think you should even be playing a power conference team. I don't think you need to, whatever. But at Temple, SEC opener, then you get a bye leading into Kent State. And then that doesn't even play into the fact that the 7-game stretch to end the regular season, it has to be the toughest 7-game stretch in college football this year. Neutral site game against Texas, at South Carolina, Ole Miss at home, at Tennessee. Then you get a bye. Well, it's got to be easier than Texas, at South Carolina, Ole Miss, and at Tennessee, which will probably be 4 top 25 teams, 3 of them away from Norman. Well, it's got to get easier from there, right? I know. How about you come back off your bye at Alabama, Missouri at home, LSU at home? So if my math is correct, that final 7-game stretch, I believe at minimum, you are going to be facing 6 teams that are ranked in the top 25. I don't know if Missouri will get there this year. And you'll be facing 4 of them away from home. It's just the schedule of death. And that doesn't even include, listen, I think Auburn's going to be improved. Michigan, we'll see what happens. But I'll say this for Oklahoma. I think it's crucial to start 5-0 because that back half is so tough. Speaking of which, let's get to the over-under win total according to DraftKings Sportsbook. This one is both surprisingly low, but also kind of not low. It's 6.5 wins. I'll say this. I think when we talk all these teams, I think two things can be true, okay? One, I don't think there's any doubt Oklahoma, I just think it's better across the board. I think they have better coaching. I think they have better players. I'm not a scheme expert. I don't claim to be. I'm not Dan Orlovsky or something. But at the same time, you can have better players, better scheme, better whatever. Schedule is insane. And not only is the schedule insane, as I just referenced, it's unnecessarily difficult. You have a bye before Kent State. You have to play at Temple. You have Michigan at home. And this one, even at 6.5, it just feels like a total stay away to me. And here's what's crazy about it. So again, two things can be true. The team can be improved, significantly improved maybe. What does that look like in the win-loss column? And this is what I want to do. Rather than me getting on a soapbox and saying what Oklahoma needs to do, what Brent Venables needs to do to build trust in this organization and with this group, I'm going to leave it to Oklahoma fans. You can get in the chat, you can get in the comments, and you can tell me what needs to be done, because I don't know with that schedule if there is a specific win threshold that makes you feel good. Maybe it's 8-4. Maybe 8-4 against that schedule, even if you're not in the college football playoff conversation, is considered a win. Maybe you're Oklahoma, and if you're not in the college football playoff conversation after basically being a lock for about a 4, 5, 6 year stretch when you were in the Big 12, maybe you feel different. I don't know. And I'm not here to tell Oklahoma fans how they should or should not feel. I'm just here to say that that's a brutal schedule. Matt, pop up the schedule again here really quick. I'll say this, and I mentioned this off the top. I understand Michigan's going to be a top 25 team coming into the year. I think Auburn really is better than people are giving them credit for. I do think you have to start 4-0 or 5-0, excuse me. You have to start 5-0. You have to beat Michigan at home. And then that Jackson Arnold return game, you got to win it to have any degree of success, any hope going into the back half. Now, the good news is 3 of the last 5 are at home. I get that. You get Bama off of a bye. I get that. It is just so tough. So I don't want to end on a negative note, because I like what Oklahoma has done this offseason. I give Brent Venables credit for basically acknowledging there are things I need to change. I give the administration credit for acknowledging there are things that they need to change. The question is, will it be enough in the win column to keep fans happy? And by the way, I never criticize a fan. You have high standards. You're paying for tickets. You're maybe contributing to NIL. I don't know what is realistic and what's not, but what a schedule on the back half. And again, why are we playing at Temple? Why we have a bye before Kent State? Well, somebody's got some explaining to do. All right. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. If you're not subscribed to the College Football Betting YouTube channel, do me a favor, make sure to do so. Just click that subscribe button. We really would appreciate your support. Really would go a long way in going towards helping grow this channel. By the way, tag a friend, share with a friend if you like the content. Even if you're an Oklahoma fan that's mad at me because I'm not sold on what this record is going to look like, do me a favor and subscribe. You can also find this podcast on Apple and Spotify. Oklahoma's in the books along with Texas, Georgia, and Bama. We'll come back. Tennessee will be the next team on our docket. Tennessee coming up. Appreciate your support of the College Football Betting Pod.